I might look a bit older than some of the other speakers, but that's because I'm a time traveller. I've come here from the 1970s. It took me about 50 years to get here, but here I am. This is me on my first day at school in the 1970s. And I remember a few things about being at school in the 1970s. One was my Year 3 teacher coming back from Australia, obsessed with Australia and teaching us waltzing Matilda and all sorts of things, which was quite rare back in the 1970s for anyone to go to Australia from the UK. Even more rare to come back. So that was one of the things. The other thing I remember, the thing I most remember, apart from chanting the times tables, was a poster about the moon landings. This was about 4 or 5 years after, well, about 8 years after the moon landings. And I was obsessed by it. And I didn't really know why. I think it was about what's different to the classroom and what's really happening out there. What's the pinnacle of human achievement? So I knew I was obsessed with this. I used to stare at it when I was supposed to be learning other things. I would just read this poster again and again. So at home, there was a TV show called Play School. Don't know if anyone is old enough to remember that. It was on the BBC. When you had to watch the BBC, there were only 3 channels back in the day in the UK, and one was the BBC, 2 were the BBC. And there was a segment in that show where it would take you through one of the windows, and you always had to guess which one it was. It would be the arch window, the square window, or the circular window. And it would take you through the window for about 5 minutes in each show, and it would show you how something was built. It would always take you to a factory. It might be a chocolate factory, it might be a car factory, it would be something being built. And what interested me about that was not what was being built. I used to think, who built the machines that are building the stuff, that are making the stuff? There must be someone behind that. And if it's a machine building the machine, that builds the stuff, that makes the stuff, who built that machine? And then it gets into the mind-scrambling world of the infinite regression. And this never really left me. Who builds the machines that makes the stuff? So by the time I hit the 20th century, the 21st century, sorry, I thought, right, I've got to go to America. I was obsessed with going on holiday to America. So before I had children, my wife and I went off for 6 weeks and went around America. I knew why I was going to America. It wasn't the stunning natural beauty. Yes, we went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Florida. The Everglades, stunning. We didn't get to Yellowstone, but I found a nice picture of it. I'm sure it's amazing. But it wasn't that blew me away. That was filling time. What I was interested in was seeing the space shuttle take off. That's why we went. And I dragged my poor wife along. It was the return to flight in 2005 after the second disaster. And again, this came from that space poster 30 years previously. How does this work? Who built this? What's it all about? This is the pinnacle of human achievement. So we went and saw the space shuttle take off. It was incredible. We waited 3 weeks because there was a tiny technical fault. We had to fill in the time looking at natural beauty while we did it. And one of the most amazing things, just as an aside, was, I don't know if anyone's seen a rocket, any kind of rocket go into orbit. It's not like it goes up and disappears. You can actually follow it and see the arc as it goes into orbit as a tiny speck. And you can still see it even in the daylight. And I'm still thinking, who built that? Where do you start to build something like that? And then you go around Kennedy Space Center and you see something even more awesome. The Saturn V rocket and the Apollo spacecraft. Amazing. And a few years later, I went to Washington, D.C., at the Smithsonian, and saw the lunar module and the command module. Incredible. But again, wasn't about natural beauty. I'm not saying I don't appreciate natural beauty. This was about human achievement, the pinnacle of human achievement. Even going back to where it all started, with the Wright brothers and the Wright Flyer, which they also have in the Smithsonian. And you can almost touch it. You could touch it if you were allowed. Incredible to think that's where it started. But again, how did they think? And I know it's an iterative process. We learn about design thinking in schools. But getting to this stage and keep on getting better is phenomenal. And then we move into the AI age. I mean, AI has been with us a long time, but it's really exploded in the last sort of few years, especially in schools as well. And we can put everything into an AI now, and we can get what we want out mostly. It's imperfect, but we can cheat. We can put our homework into the AI, we can put our essay titles. My AI replies to my emails for me. I don't let it. I always check what it's going to send back. But it can do a phenomenal amount of things. So it got me thinking, what drives us as humans? Because I've done a lot of my studies as an educational leader, and my postgraduate degree studies keep coming back to this. But what drives humans to achieve, to exist, to be human? Henry spoke at the beginning about what defines us as human beings. And my sort of studies take me back to John Dewey, more than 100 years ago, talking about human achievement, happiness, purpose, why we're here. And it's about finding your true purpose in life and having the opportunity to fulfill those dreams. And then I found a load of other people, very much smarter than me, who've come to pretty much the same conclusion, pretty much in chronological order following Dewey, from Maslow with self-actualization, McGregor, whose work I love, the theory of the why person and how you manage the why person, that inherently we want to succeed. And then on the Hertzberg, we're not just motivated by money, you get, and it links to Maslow as well. We reach a certain level of comfort, but we want to be better. We want to be all that we can be. And it's consistent right through to Six Cent Me High and Flow, which is a really difficult seminal work to read, by the way. It's best to Wikipedia that one first to get a sense of it. But again, it's about being in flow, doing what you love, having that purpose. And then through to the more popularized versions of this from Sir Ken Robinson and Dan Pink as well. Like autonomy, mastery, purpose, doing what you love, but striving to achieve. And we've seen so much of that tonight. Everybody who stood up here, everybody involved in the organization, all of you as parents and staff members as well, achieving every day, making the world a better place, being all that you can be. Leading to the Japanese concept of ikigai. Finding your purpose, but not just that, having the opportunity to do what you love, to do what you're good at. Going back to Dan Pink, right? The autonomy, the mastery, the purpose. Obviously, what you can be paid for links back to Hertzberg. Yes, you need to earn some money for doing it, but also what the world needs, which is key to purpose and how you feel about yourself. So it is about purpose and human achievement. What is the pinnacle of human achievement? And remembering what Neil Armstrong said, we need knowledge. There's been a rather silly debate in education for many years, knowledge versus skills. And it's kind of been debunked now. Of course, you need both. You can't innovate. You can't have creative ideas. You can't do something new without having that basic knowledge. There was a time when people used to say, well, you can get everything off Google, so you don't need to know anything. We know that's a bit silly now. So, human achievement, what is it? It's art, architecture. And I know we've got some amazing architecture students in here that have done amazing things on a global scale already before they're even 18. Just phenomenal. Architecture and art combined. So you've got the technology and the art. And of course, the pinnacle, in my opinion, of human achievements, the dishwasher. If you're 50 and you've got a bad back, you might just appreciate that. Okay. So how does sci-fi come into this? Just some examples. One of my favorite books, H.G. Wells, 1895. 130 years ago, right? And popularized in a number of film versions as well and TV versions. The Eloi, an evolved species from the human race, defined by their apathy. They've given up, they don't need to work anymore. They've delegated that to the Morlocks. So the Eloi live above ground. They're farmed like cattle by the Morlocks, who live underground, and they tend the machinery. And they tend the Eloi as well. The ones who do the work, the ones who keep working hard, dominate. And they literally live off the flesh of the apathetic Eloi, who have given up creating, given up thinking. There's a great scene in the movie I think it's from the 50s or 60s, where the time traveler asks one of the Eloi, he says to him, "I have many questions." And one of the Eloi says, "Why?" Which doesn't really work, because that's a question in itself, and they were trying to make the point that they've given up on curiosity. Why would you have questions? We don't need to have questions. We've delegated all of that. We're just living an easy life. All the food just appears for us. And The Matrix, not such classic sci-fi, but these films like The Matrix are based on that, the knowledge, the existing knowledge. So just like the Eloi were being farmed and feasted on by the Morlocks, what was the pinnacle of human utility by then? We were being used as energy sources, as batteries, because we'd given up, we'd lost to the machines. We'd delegated the work, the autonomy, the creativity, everything to the machines. What was our value then? Just the energy, the heat we were producing, because we'd given up being what made us human. 2001, Space Odyssey. HAL 9000, the computer on the spaceship, on its journey to Jupiter, conflicted by what the humans were doing compared to the mission it had been programmed to do. So it made its own decision. We don't need to get rid of all the humans, but the ones on the mission are getting in my way. So it had to try and take them out. And then, of course, the Terminator, the ultimate decision made by an AI when we've delegated all the decision-making to the AI. We've given up our creativity and our achievement, our sense of striving to achieve. We give it to the AI. And Skynet makes its decision when it becomes self-aware in a nanosecond. What's the value of humans now? We don't need them. There's no value. So our dreams don't work unless we do. If we delegate all our work to the AI, to the machines, what's our value as humans? And I know I'm preaching to the converted here, because everybody here is thinking, that's not us. We've done all this ourselves. We might have had a little bit of help with the speeches, with AI, but actually, we've done this ourselves. Everyone here is achieving, but not everyone gets that chance. So, all successful people work hard. Sometimes young people don't realize this, but they do in the background. So if you want to stay human in the AI age, beware of how much you delegate all of this. Your curiosity, creativity, Yes, your knowledge, your critical thinking, your feelings. One thing AI can't do just yet. Can't really feel. Your work, the autonomy, the mastery, the purpose. Because achievement is what makes us human. Whatever that achievement is, whether it's the musical performance, standing here, whatever you do in your day-to-day lives to make the world a better place, achievement makes us human. If we delegate that, if we lose what it is to be human, someone or something else will determine that question for us. We have to stay strong and be focused on what we as humans keep bringing to the table, and that's how we stay human. Thank you.